All right, hi guys. We are going to do a lesson today, and we are going to continue on with our journey through fractions. And let me just check and make sure my mic is working. Looks like it is. Okay, cool. We are going to start with section 3.13 today, and we're going to be doing division of fractions. Now, the actual act of dividing fractions is not particularly difficult, but we are going to do a brief foray or a little journey into why we do what we do, and that part is a little bit tricky, okay? So, the question may come up if I am looking to, instead of multiply fractions, I'm looking to divide them. So, say for example, we've been doing problems like this, where if I have 1/3 times 3/4, I know how to do this because I can multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. That would be simply 3 over 12. And then I can simplify that. Hang on, let me switch out my pens. I think this one might be a little better. Divide both by 3. And I have 1/3. Right? Nope. I have 1/4. Sorry. Still a little early in the morning for me. So that's how I can do my fraction multiplication. But the question arises when I am trying to do division. Say I have 2/5 and I'm doing divided by 3/7. Well, the main problem we have with the dividing fractions is that there is not a simple algorithm or a simple trick like multiplying numerators and multiplying denominators. We need to do an additional step that seems a little bit like magic at first in order to do our division. So first we have to talk about the reciprocal of a number. This should ring a bell hopefully in the back of your head. A reciprocal, if I have a number like 1/3, I can take its reciprocal and I can go to 3 over 1. All I do is I take the numerator and then the denominator and I flip them. So say I have the number 3/13 and I take the reciprocal of that, I simply switch it to 13/3. The rule for reciprocals is that if I ever have a number and I multiply it by its reciprocal, it is 1. Let me show you what I mean. So the reciprocal rule says this: a times 1 over a, that is an a, even though it's a terrible a, equals 1. Let me show you. Let's take our first example up here, and let's take 1/3. Sorry, attacked by ants over here. Times 3 over 1. Well, if I do that, 3 times 3 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. I end up with 3 pieces, and each piece is a third, so I end up with 1. Okay, let's try with our other example. We have 3/13 times 13/3. Okay, 13 times 3 is 39, I think. 13 times 3 again is 39. Well, a number over a number is still that same number, right? So we're good to go. And we're going to use this reciprocal rule to recall how to divide fractions, okay? So say I do end up wanting to divide this particular fraction. I'm going to borrow this one here. All I have to do is take 2/5 divided by 3/7, and I can actually rewrite this as 2/5 times 7/3. So our rules for dividing fractions are simply like this. Or let's solve this one first. We have 14/15. Now give me the answer for 2/5 divided by 3/7. Okay, we have, we're going to write down 4 steps for dividing fractions. And then we're going to talk about why it's like this, and then we're going to do some examples. Number 1, we're going to go mixed numbers to improper fractions. That means we're going to take 3 and a fourth, and we're going to turn it into 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13 fourths, right? Number 2, rewrite division as multiplication with reciprocal of second, only the second, number. Right? Number 3, multiply fractions. And number 4, simplify and return to mixed number. All right. Why do we do this? Let me show you. Let's look at our example that we've been kind of talking about. 2/5 divided by 3/7. Okay, this is a little bit tricky, so I'm going to use some of my notes to help me out so that I can make sure that I do it correctly. All right, so say I'm doing my problem that I had before. 2/5, and what's nice is you only ever have to do this once. You're not going to have to do this for every problem, but I do want you to write it down because I think it'll help you understand. All right, if I write 2/5 divided by 3/7, and if I'm really dividing something, like if I'm doing 10 divided by 5, I can also write this as 10 divided by 5. It's the same thing. So I'm going to take this and rewrite it like that. I'm going to say this is 2/5 divided by 3/7. And I'm actually allowed to do that, even though this looks very weird, and it's not particularly useful because we can do even less things with this than we could with this. The one thing it will let us do is see our progression of how we're going to go to our next steps. So now we can turn to get our reciprocal. What we're going to do is we are going to cancel out 3/7 on the bottom, just like we did when we were doing our unit conversions. So I'm going to take this number, because think of 2/5 as a number, over 3/7 as another number. But I'm going to multiply this, and I'm going to multiply it so that 3/7 is on the top. But I can't just multiply by a number. I have to multiply by 1. And I can use the rule of reciprocals to divide this by itself to turn it back into 1, okay? Because 3/7 times 7/3 is 1, because a rule of reciprocals from earlier, remember? Okay, so now I'm going to divide this, but I really multiplied up here, but I'm going to put it back down onto the bottom. And if I put it back onto the bottom, it flips again, because I can actually move fractions up to the top and down to the bottom if I'm flipping them. So I'm going to, again, divide by 3/7, right? Let me check and make sure I'm doing this. So now... Wait, no, I did this wrong. Okay, sorry. This should instead be 7/3, and this should be 7/3. Sorry about that. And the reason is not because I'm trying to cancel them out, but I'm trying to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to cancel it out using another way. Not like I did with my converting units. I'm going to cancel it out because this times this is equal to 1, like I've said before. So now I can write it like this. 2/5 times 7/3 all over 1. And that 1 cancels out and is gone, because anything divided by 1 I can kind of get rid of. And I can rewrite this finally as 2/5 times 7/3, which is exactly what we ended up doing in this part. So instead of going through this step, and you can see that it even confused me because I don't use this part of my brain often. Instead of going through this whole step, just invert and multiply. Or reciprocal and then multiply, just like our steps. All right, let's take a look at some examples before I confuse you too much. Example 1. All right, we are going to take a look at the multiplication of this. 5/10 divided by 1/2. 5/10 divided by 1/2. So our first step, convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. None of that. Rewrite as multiplication with reciprocal. 5/10 times 2/1. Now I just multiply. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 times 1 is 10. Simplify. Well, any number divided by itself is 1. Easy. Example 2. We're going to do 6 1/4 divided by 1 1/2. All right, so my first step is I need to take it into mixed numbers, or take my mixed numbers and put them into improper fractions. So to do that, I'm going to do 6 times 4 plus 1, which is 25/4, divided by 1 times 2 plus 1 is 3/2. Now I'm going to reciprocal and multiply, so I really have 25/4 times 2/3. So it looks like I have 50. 4 times 3 is 12. All right, I can divide both by 2. So I have 25/6. And it looks like that is going to be simplified as far as I can go. Okay? Let's do, if you feel like you get it, go ahead and go on. I'm going to do 2 more examples. You can always look in the book if you would like to see some more. All right, we're going to do 6/8 divided by 1/4. Okay, we're going to reciprocal and multiply. 6 times 4 is 24/8. 8, 16, 24. I'm going to divide both by 8. So I have 3/1. 3 wholes means I have 3. Because if I divide anything by 1, I can simplify it to the number. One more example. Example 4. We're going to do, let's see. We're going to do 6 1/2 divided by 3/4. All right, turn this into an improper fraction. 6 times 2 plus 1. We have 13/2. I'm going to reciprocal. 4/3. 13 times 4 is, I'll come back to that in a second. Actually, I'll just do it over here. 4, 5, 52. Okay. I was thinking something around there. 52/6. I can divide both by 2. That's going to be 26/3. Oh, but I need to pull it back into a mixed number. So how many 3s are in 26? Well, I would guess 8. 8 times 3 is 24. Subtract 24 out of there. We have 8 and 2/3, because 26 minus 24 is 2. I have 2 left. All right. Hopefully it makes sense, and good luck.